Hello fellow wargamers and welcome. It's Brent from the Ottawa Capital Gaming Garrison here to talk about something that I enjoy a lot. I love basing models. And I just got some new basing materials from a friend that I just met on the internet. He gave me a ton of stuff and I can't wait to get playing with it. So I'm going to work on the base for my Colossal Squig. This should be good. So guys, let's get right to it. Everybody, like I said, I'm going to be basing this Colossal Squig that I have right here. He is not painted yet. But like I said, I got this basing stuff today. And basing is my favorite part of this hobby. So I'm going to start with it. What I've done already is taken some cork, different levels of cork, different sizes, glued them together. This is going to be my main base. Like the main scenery on the base is going to be stone. So I'm going to glue this down, leaving enough room. I'm going to try and put him close to the center of the base. I want to make sure that he is good and that he's not touching anywhere. I think that looks about right. I'm going to go with that. So I'm going to take some super glue and I'm going to glue these down. Some people prefer to use PVA glue for this. I like the super glue gel. I find it does a good job. Let's put a couple drops on there. I'm running out, it looks like. There we go. And then I'm going to stick it on where I had it. I also am not a big fan of overlapping from the bases. So I'm going to push it here right till it's on the edge, but flush. Then I'm going to take this other one. It's just a smaller piece. I didn't want to have it high up on both sides because I want to be able to see the profile of the squig totally from one side. Put some glue on there. I'm going to stick this down. So it's almost like a channel or a ravine running through there. Again, he fits in there perfectly. He's going to look great charging down the the table towards the enemies there. Now, I got some packs of sand and stuff here. A friend of mine that I met today said, hey, I've got a bunch of basing materials and what do you think? I've got them all by size. So here I have 6mm sand. So it goes through like a sifter. Goes up a bit more here. I got some 1.18mm. Some nice looking, very flat, like slate, would be very good for bases. I'm very excited to use this. But what I'm going to do right now is take the sand color that's 1.18. So it's small, but it's not too small. And I'm going to take some just clear PVA glue. Give it a good shake there. And along the edges of this terrain, I'm going to put down some falling debris. I'm going to go a bit heavier on the bigger piece. Almost like a rock slide has happened. Go over onto the side, and there. And up a little bit as well. Now I really want to make sure that this gets in, so I'm just going to take an old paintbrush, something I don't really care about, and just kind of spread it out a bit there. You can be as neat or as messy as you want, depending on how many rocks, how much you want the rocks to spread out from your mountains, essentially. So because the squig's such a big guy and he's running full tilt there, I'm going to go quite wide. Have it like he's causing all these rocks to come down over the side here. When putting glue on cork, use a lot. Not an overabundance, but it tends to seep into the cork. So I'm going to put some on right in there, right up along there. Move my paintbrush. That's the 1.6 sand. That's coming next. But I've got the 1.18 stuff here. So get a good look at that for you guys there. So All roughly same size. Good stuff. I'm going to just drop it along all over this base. When it comes to type of glue that you can use, there are a couple of different things. The scenery-based glue from Army Painter is good. I prefer just cheap PVA glue because I go through it so fast. Some people prefer hot glue. There's nothing wrong with that. Give that a press down in there, make sure it gets in. Clear off what I can with my fingers. Give it a tap. So far, I've got rocks running along the side of my bigger terrain features. I'm going to go ahead and let this dry now, and then what I'm going to do is put some sand down in the front and throughout. And I'm going to get some sand in the other recesses that I didn't put the bigger rocks in. So I'm going to let this dry and come back. Okay, I'm back. Base is dried, pretty much. Next thing I'm going to do, try and put some sand on there. What I want to do with the sand is I want to get some in around these crevices, these recesses up in here, down along the sides. Anywhere where you think like falling rock would hang, I'm going to put some sand in there. I'm going to put some sand along the front edge of my debris. I smartened up and put a piece of paper down because when you're working with basing materials, you always want to save your leftovers. Sand, going to dump it here, shake out my board. Then I'm just going to fold up the piece of paper, shimmy everything back into the bag. So I'm going to start with some glue. Like I said, I want to get some up in all of these crevices. I don't want to use too much glue here because I don't want to cover the whole thing. Going to paint it on. And then on my very top, I'm going to cover the whole thing in sand. Maybe leave a few barren spots for some brush, because that's what these mountains are going to be covered in. Little patches of brush. Now I want to put some down along here. And I really want to push it to make sure it gets as far in right up against all those rocks. Maybe even over the top of the first couple. Not really too worried about anything uniform at this point. And you can use as little of this or as much as you want. You want to cover the whole base in sand and have it gravel. You can. What I plan on doing is some dark green grass and some tufts throughout here. So I'm not going to go with the whole thing gravel. Alright, so I'm ready for my sand. I'm going to use some really fine, like I said earlier, 6mm sand here. Should be good to go. I'm going to take it out and I'm just going to put it on. Not worrying about being neat because it's only going to stick where I have my glue. Going to pat it down to help it stick. Turn it this way here. Knock off all of my excess. So there we go. This is ready for painting once it dries. Got my nice gradular big rocks, small rocks, gravel. Some gravel up on the sides to let those grades just slope a little bit more naturally. Like I said, I'm going to sprinkle some plants in among them once it's all painted. But paint will be the next step. So we're going to let this dry. I'm going to spray paint it. I'm going to go spray paint black. I like to start with black and work my way up. Probably going to keep this mostly gray. Yeah, gray with green seems to work well. It will match the rest of my goblin army, so that is exactly what I'm going to do. But now I'm just going to let it dry, and we'll come back after it's primed. Okay, so I'm back now with my base after priming. Just a flat black. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to dry brush the whole base with a dark gray. I think for this color I'm going to use Skaven Blight Dinge. I already have some put aside in a paint pot here. I'm going to take my biggest scenery dry brush that I have and put some on the brush. Get it off on a piece of paper towel. Work it around. I'm going to go pretty heavy with this coat just because it's going to be the base. Spray painting black and then starting with gray. I don't find you do need a wash most times. Some people still prefer to put one on. I'm not going to put one on this time. I'm going to do the whole base. Get it all gray. This will also knock off a couple of rocks here and there, depending on the glue that you use. I'm really not too worried about it at this moment, because not very much is going to come off. The reason I'm deciding to just start dry brushing is because I based black. This will leave the dark color in all the recesses. It just saves a step, I find. With a big brush like this, you're going to go through a lot of paint. Something I've noticed, but that's okay. The result will look worth it in the end, I think. Okay, I'm just going to finish this up. We'll let it dry, and then I'll show you what the next step is going to be after that. Okay guys, so I've got it all, the first color on there. That's the Skaven Blight Dinge. It's hard to see at this point. There's still black on the very depths of my recesses. That's going to start to build the color. The Skaven Blight, I did pretty much over the whole thing. I'm going to go in now with the Mechanicus Standard Gray next. I'm going to go a bit lighter, so I'm going to use a different brush, just a large dry brush. When dry brushing, it's very, very important that you don't push in as hard as you can with every single color. You want to build the effect, so you want to go lighter and lighter to give it the depth. So I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to get some of the Mechanicus Standard on my brush. I'm going to get most of it off, so I'm just working with dry brushing technique here. Okay, then I'm going to go over the top and along the edges. I'll take some pictures and add it to the very end of this as well, because I'm not sure how much the camera is going to pick up of that. But up here, I'm just going over the top. I can already see that the depth is taking form. The shapes are popping out at me more than they were when they're just spray painted black. Still have one more color to go on top of this, so it should lighten it up even more. And then I'm going to start adding my grass and my tufts to make it stand out. So I'm going to go in here, put more on my brush, get back to doing this. I'll come back to you guys when this step is done. Okay, so I've done the Mechanicus Standard Gray all over, lighter than the Skaven Blight Dinge. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use a dry brush Dawnstone. I know Dawnstone comes in normal color too. I find that the dry brush version is just a touch lighter. So I'm going to scoop some out. Just going to put some here on my piece of paper towel. I'm going to start with the same dry brush that I used right here, this wonderful large dry brush. Get some onto my brush. Then for this I'm going to go across all the big sections. So where my gravel and my smaller rocks are, all down there. Cover my edges on my flat surfaces. Top as well. Making sure that I'm not missing anything. Get some more on there. Start on my other side. Right now, just going to go this way on it because I got that big, I used the big piece of cork here, so I've got that big wide side. I want to make sure I touch all of it on the inside there to give it that nice depth. Work my way all the way up here. Cover all of that nice gravel. Get all of this depth in here too. Cover everything here. Again, I'm going lighter than the previous Mechanicus Standard Gray because I want the color to build. I was explaining this to my 11-year-old daughter when she's working on her dryads, and the best thing I could say to her is, like, imagine that you're building something out of Lego and that you just want to keep building your stack up higher. So you don't want to cover the piece that's below, you just want to add to the top of it. I found the same thing applies for dry brushing. You don't really want to lose all the color that you just put on by putting the whole next color on as deep as you did with the first one. But you just want to add to it and make it get bigger and bigger. Just going to go over the whole thing again, make sure I didn't miss anything. Now, a lot of people can stop here. I mean, it's perfectly fine. You're going to have some nice textured colored rocks. And then you can start adding your tufts and whatever other basing material you want to put on in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and touch up the whole thing, just the very tops, the very edges, with Terminatus stone, which is a very lighter, like a beige, but it actually adds depth and definition to the whole thing. So yeah, that's going to be my next step, and I'll be right back to show you guys that, and then you can see how it looks before I go ahead and add my basing materials. Okay people, I got my Terminatus stone here, which is like a light beige, light brown, really light brown, like off-white color. I know it looks like it's not going to match, but I really want the contrast. I've done this a lot with other pieces of terrain, and it comes out really well for rock. So I'm just going to take a small dry brush here. I've already put some out here onto my piece of paper towel, makeshift palette. Now, this just went very, very, very little. I'm going to go on the top here, just around my edges. Definitely not going as crazy as I did before some of the other colors. Maybe a bit more controlled at where I put it. Just wanted to go kind of around the edges. I want to make sure that I have most of it off here before I even attempt to start my brush strokes. Kind of lighting up the stone a bit, which is exactly what I want it to do. I put on all the sides of my edges. So anywhere where there's like a cut or a sharp edge, that's where I'm going to put it. Some of these I'm going to fill in with some mossy looking terrain, or some mossy looking tufts and flock, to make it more of a natural scenery piece instead of just two big chunks of rock on the side of a pathway. I think I'm going to be just about done here with this. I don't want to put too much on, but all of my stone work, any of you that have seen the other videos, Philippe and I painted everything this stone color. So if you ever looked at our terrain and were like, wow, that looks good, or I want to know how to do that, this is our recipe for that. So again, just very, very little light strokes on the top. Going one and two ways. You could even just go one way on it, but I prefer to go back and forth. All those little rocks down there covered. This big open chunky bit of rock on the back here. Oh yeah, that looks nice. So there we go. That's what it's going to look like. So this is my rock done. I'm going to go in and add my tufts, and then I'm going to add my flock. We'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like with the tufts when I go to add the tufts. Okay, Terminatus stone is done on the base. Everything's looking good. The next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to add flock. Now for my flock, I have a mixture here that I like to use. It's a cut up foam, nice and dark, grated up foam, and it's got some real wood fiber in it just to add a different texture, a different color to it. So I find it looks really good. I've based most of my army in it, and I like it a lot. Don't ask me where you can get it, because honestly, I can't remember. So what I'm going to do now is, first of all, I'm going to put this down a piece of paper so that when I knock my flock off, I can just put the extras back in the container. Thinking. Okay, I'm going to paint on glue everywhere. But what I want to show you guys, what I like to do here, my little paint palette, I'm going to put some glue into here. So anywhere on the rocks that have holes, go all the way down. I'm just going to go ahead and put some glue in there. Cover the whole base. Don't even worry if you get some on the rocks. It'll look natural in the end. Just make sure that you're getting all these empty spots that are on your base covered. I also like this flocking color because it's nice and dark, and you can put it into the recesses and it looks nice and natural like a moss. So I've gone ahead and put the glue on a couple of spots here. So I'm just going to add the flock and show you guys what it's going to look like. Just tap it off. So there we go. This is what the base is going to look like with all the green before the tufts. I'm still going to put two different kinds of tufts on this, but I'm going to go ahead and flock the rest of it. You guys get the idea. I'm not going to show it all on camera, but you guys get the idea. Just paint in where you have bare base and anywhere in the recesses that you want to do it. You don't even have to, but I just find it adds just a little extra character to the base. Yep, so I'll show you guys what it looks like when we're ready to put on tufts. Okay, so got the flock on the base. Here's what it looks like so far. With the rocks and the sand here, I went ahead and I just put a little bit of glue in certain spots to add some flock into my rock mixture to make it look like the rocks came down and they overtook the grass, but at doing so they turned up the dirt. So there's a little bit of that in there. Over on this side, I put some moss growing on the inside of the rocks. I'll show you that there, just to give it a different texture, not just rock. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some tufts. I'm going to use super glue to attach them. I know they're sticky, but I never trust that. So I'm going to use a couple different army painter, shrubs, and tufts, I guess. So the lowland shrubs that I have here are really nice, if I can pick them up. I'm going to just take one off. I'm going to put a little dab of glue on it. Oh no! My super glue has betrayed me. That's okay. Then I want to put this on this nice open spot right here, right up against the rock. And then I want to take one of these lowland tufts. Again, I'm still going to put some super glue onto it because I just trust it better to stick. I'm going to stick this kind of down in the recesses here on an angle, so it looks like it's kind of coming out. Get a good view of that there. Yeah, so it's kind of coming out of the, growing into the crevice. That's the word I'm looking for. English is hard today, people. I'm going to repeat this process a couple more times. Again, every time I'm putting one on, I'm going to put it into a crevice where I have a decent size space to put one. There we go. I like that one there. And one more, I think. These tufts are a nice addition, but I find that you can go overboard with them. I like the base as it is so far. I'm just going to put a couple more bits on it to make it look complete without going overboard. So again, you can manipulate these a little bit. I like that one there, kind of sticking out. I'm going to put another lowland shrub on there. First one that I used. This is going to be number 2. I'm going to put that up here. Again, I'm just going to manipulate it a little bit once I have it in. What you can do is once you get these on, if you wanted to, you could then dry brush them with a, I guess, a brown to some, a little bit dirtier. Depends on what your take is for the battlefield. Since my squig is more than likely going to be the bright red that I've been doing the rest of my Goblin Army squigs with, I think I'm going to leave these as green. Just for a little bit of contrast. I'm going to put another one here. What I might do is speckle little bits of red paint on them to have them like berry patches. Be like a wild raspberry patch or something. Just grew on this outcropping. Okay guys, this is just about done here. I'm just going to separate this one a bit, make it look a bit fuller. This one too. What do you guys think? This looks like a fitting base for a colossal squig charging down a countryside towards an unsuspecting army. Probably a death army, because that's all I seem to play on the channel. So yeah, what do you think? Let me know in the comments, and let me know what kind of videos you guys would like to see for the future. We're definitely open for possibilities of doing other things, and we'd love feedback, so let us know. And there we go, guys. Again, thanks for watching. This is Brent from the Ottawa Capital Gaming Garrison. Happy hobby and good gaming, and like and subscribe. Thanks a lot.